So does anybody have a report that would look for the most popular authors? Like if I wanted to find the most popular authors in mystery or romance or something like that.
I have one that does like top 10 circulations in a shelf location, and our shelf locations are divided out by those sort of genres. But I would guess you could swap out the shelf location filter for like a subject filter. So like you're looking at a 650 of mystery or whatever the genre cataloging field is. So it seems doable to me. And I think on these top 10 circulation reports, let me look. It's just like a grouping by biblio number, ordering by cert count. This one's just pulling from old issues. I can put the code in the chat. It's pretty short.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I don't think this has been run in quite a while, so I can't guarantee that it actually does anything, but you can try. Yeah, it didn't bring back any results for me. Probably because I picked a unpopular section date range. Yeah, it does seem to work. And it's got hyperlinks to the titles, that sort of thing. So I would just swap out where the shelf location filter, like I said, for maybe even just a keyword search field and tie in your mark data.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
I guess I can show off my dashboards. I think I showed it off at the sysadmin meeting, but Lizette wasn't there, so I can show off what I was doing with that.
I'd like to see it again. Yeah.
Okay. And maybe we can come up with more efficient ways to do it or something like that. So I'll share a screen here. Maybe. Oh, wow. Did that work?
There it goes.
Okay. It's just like everything went away for a second. Okay, so what I'm doing is trying to integrate. So we have cleanup reports, and my whole thing is external to Koha. So I have like just a series of links and instructions and things that I send out monthly to my libraries to remind them to clean up things. And my goal is to bring that back into Koha and make it more in their face. So what I did was I used the HTML block that is available on the Circ page and built out this little tab series of tables. And then I'm using, so I built all that up with HTML. And then I've got a report in here that runs all the stats. And that's the part that's probably not well optimized because it's just a bunch of reports union together. Let's see if I can show you the report and who knows what it's called. I think Circ dash totals. So the report is going in and pulling the values that get inserted here. And it's a bunch of garbled mess just for my own. I might clean that up before I pump it into live, but I was just wanting to test and make sure it worked. And the goal is to, like I said, when they load up the page, it gives them a count. Probably going to cache this report so that it doesn't run every time this page gets loaded. That's one of my concerns, is that it's gonna like bog things down if this loads every time everybody comes into the circ page. But from there, they'll be able to click on the number and it'll run an associated report that will give them the list of whatever the issue is. So in this case, we want them to pay attention to the items that are overdue that they've brought in from another library. So they click that, get a list of the overdues, and work on contacting their patrons, that sort of thing. So what I did was I just took our usual very bulky, wordy series of reports and tried to condense it down into a more easily digestible form. And then I added some formatting to the numbers that we want them to pay attention to the most, because we always want them to try and clear up problems that they have with other libraries' items, focus on that stuff. So I made it red and bold there. And then I've just got some of the other reports divided out, and I thought I would, as long as this works and it doesn't like destroy anything, sort of expand that out to the different areas. So I could bring in my cataloging reports into the cataloging tab, and I could bring in my just some of the quick statistics onto the reports tab so that they don't actually have to run the report every time and dig down to it. That's just right there. So it's more usable and useful. And that's my goal anyways. And I can show you the various chunks of code, also very messy.
Okay, all right.
So the HTML is going in not circulation, I don't think. It's all in the staff client tab. So I've got that built up in the circulation home HTML, and that's the table that you're seeing here. And then I have each of these boxes is just populated with a spinning icon in the HTML so that as it loads, there's some sort of signal to show it, hey, something's happening. And I think, yeah, you can see that here. So that's where the spinner is, and it's just using font awesome icon, so I didn't have to add anything extra. Just told it to use a spinning icon, and that worked, which is excellent. And then I gave it an ID that associates with the sort of garbled mess here a little bit. And then in the jQuery, it's this. So I have the library code pulled in because I'm gonna eventually tie that in so that it's only pulling information for the logged in library. So right now it's not really. Right now this report is just filling in the branch code automatically, but I'll use jQuery to fill in the actual logged in library there. And then I'm declaring a variable which is pulling the result from the report results here using like a JSON command. And then down here, I'm replacing that icon spinner, which had that ID, with the information from the variable here. And then in the actual, I'm doing some of this formatting stuff in the actual SQL. I don't know if that's good or bad, but like the bold and the red is happening here somewhere. It may actually be.
I find that speeds it up.
Yeah. So, hey, George. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing with it. So, and George, you do something similar on your staff client, right? Where you're pulling some information and like stats on the front page, something like that.
Yeah, I can. If anybody wants to see that, I can share my screen.
Sure. If I can find my controls, I'll stop my share.
You can want to stop sharing. Yeah. I can. Screen 2. You guys can see Koha there.
Yep.
well, it's not very interesting on my library, but if we go to like probably Atchison's a good choice. These are high demand requests. And I've just got this report here appears on. The idea was that there were a lot of libraries complaining that that they didn't know what they should be buying. They didn't know what they had a lot of requests on. So this is just a report that's getting any request at their library where they have requests on an item that has 0 copies or the ratio is 3 to 1 or greater. And the way that I'm building that is, let's see, this preferences, well, actually I have it open in this other window. Internet main user block. I've got a lot of stuff in here because I've got the code in there that builds the tabs. And so I've just got this header for the table here. And then I've got jQuery that grabs a report that populates the rest of the data. So it's just essentially running the report is generating the body of the table. And that's going to be done with jQuery. Oh, what's that table called? Local request table. So I've just got this little block here is populating that table. So it's getting it from a report and it's dragging the branch code out of the top of the page and running that report. And I've got the report set with a cache expiry of like, I think 60 minutes or something like that, so that it's not rerunning the report every time somebody goes to the home page. It's only rerunning the report every hour.
Okay, that was going to be one of my questions because that's one of our worries.
Yeah, I didn't want it to rerun the report every time somebody loaded the whole home page, so I've just got it set to go every hour.
And you haven't noticed any sort of performance issues?
No, and it's been on there for over a year, over 2 years, I guess. And honestly, I've been thinking about taking it off because nobody, this was something that everybody said they wanted. We want an easier way to find out what the ratios are. What are the things that that are in high demand, and what are the things that people are requesting. And honestly, I don't think anybody's really using it that much.
Yeah, I used to go through monthly and kind of like just run a report and send out that information to my libraries, but it didn't. Yeah, at some point I just stopped doing it because it wasn't.
Because you get no response, or can you build me a report that does this? And I build a report and then I look at it like 6 months later and it's been run once.
Yeah,
it is. So it's like sometimes it's hard to know when they say I want this thing, how badly they really want it or need it. Sorry, just shutting my door. I just realized my door is wide open. The furnace guy's here fixing the air conditioners. So the air conditioner right outside my door. So it's probably going to be loud in here in a minute or two. So there was something that I did though. Well, here it is. It's right here where it says the holds queue was last rebuilt 26 minutes ago. That was something that I think people actually will utilize. I guess I'm logged in as Atchison. That was something I added just as a let's see, let me go to tools. This is something I just added like a week ago. I thought of it because I keep getting that question all the time. When does the holds queue rebuild? And no matter how many times I tell people, it's at 8 minutes before the hour, every hour, 24 hours a day. Let's see. What's the name of that area? That news item? Oh, useful. That's what it is. So that's just this, since I know that it runs at 8 minutes before the hour, I just added some JavaScript in that every library has this little information block somewhere in the left in their news column. And so I've just been updating those a couple of days or so. And I'm just adding this little bit of JavaScript that is adding a label essentially, and then it's getting the date, and then it's getting the hour plus 8 minutes, and then it's I don't remember what all the math is, but it's doing all this stuff to show me how long ago was 8 minutes before the hour. And it was just something I added really quickly so that, the next time somebody calls me and says, I don't remember when it is that the holds queue rebuilds, I can say, go to your homepage, look in the left-hand column, it's highlighted in yellow.
Does everybody's holds queue run 8 minutes before the hour?
Yeah, it's a global system preference. So, and I'm just, like I said, everybody's got that news block on the homepage in Koha, and so I've just got that bit. That's the code that generates that.
It reminds me of a bug I stumbled on recently, talking about why can't the holds queue be live? So I put that in the chat just in case anybody wants to look at that. I think that it could be a helpful improvement if we didn't have to track when it refreshes, if it was just refreshing instantly.
We have ours set to randomize where the holds are coming from. So that's the issue we would have is, what's on somebody's hold list. So if somebody requests Junie B. Jones is a second grader now, which I think is the most owned book by our libraries. We got one bib that has 200 items on it. So if somebody, and they never have holds, they rarely have holds on them. So if somebody up in Sabetha requests it and it's going to appear on one holds list each hour. And so if it's being rebuilt constantly, if the people in Leavenworth run their holds list at 8:01, and then the people in Baser run their list at 8:02, if each time it gets run, it's being rebuilt, it's because our holds queue is randomized, it's going to be, that hold's going to bounce all over the place each time it gets rebuilt.
Yeah.
And so it could either appear on everybody's holds list every time they run it, or it could appear on nobody's hold list if the hold queue is being regenerated each time somebody runs the report.
I didn't read the whole bug. It seems like there was some sort of thing where they were talking about skip me. People could say if it pops up on the queue, they can click a button and make it go to somebody else. So I don't know if it's I don't know if they're considering the randomization in it. And I wasn't considering the randomization because we don't really do that here either. We've got the transport cost matrix kind of sussed out so that it's prioritizing down a sort of tier list of libraries. So it does get stuck on queues if they're not on the same level of fill the holdedness.
Yeah, I've worked with both situations, but here it's set randomly because, it used to be that Heather would run a report every month and see which library had filled the most holes and then move them. Like the library that filled the most holes would move to the bottom of the holds queue, and it was filled in order. And that way the holds were being spread out more evenly, more fairly. Um, and that sounded like it was a lot of work. So she decided before I got here that it was going to be done randomly because that was the most fair way to do it. Um, and, I don't think there is, when every library is a different size and the smallest library has 4,000 items and the largest library has 100,000 items, and you've got 3 different courier hubs, and all of the biggest libraries are all in the same courier hub, and everybody's open different hours of the week. There isn't really a good way. I mean, in a perfect world, every library would be open the same number of hours, and everybody would have a crack staff that would go out there and do the hold list and get everything off the hold list every time they ran it. And the couriers would always have enough room to take all the items from every library.
And things would arrive next day.
Yeah, and
every
everything would
time.
get, and no courier would ever make a mistake, and nobody would ever put the
Uh-huh.
wrong slip in the item. And so instead of going to Leavenworth, it would go to, if everything being equal, I think there would be a way to do that. But that's the issue with us for using the transportation cost matrix, is it really just means that the biggest libraries that are all in that big cluster right next to Kansas City are just going to be sharing, are going to have the most demand on them.
Right. Yeah. And
And
that
yeah,
we've got it we balanced out with some of those factors in mind. So like how many days the library is open is factored in, how many
yeah,
days they get courier is factored in. But we also have a different situation than you guys because we at the System Center share our space and our collection with Iola.
right,
So we're at the top. We're always going to try and fill the hold first. And then the larger libraries do trade between each other, but we've got a larger library in different on different career hubs. So yeah, it's a little bit of a different situation here, but I think that our goal with the transport cost matrix was somewhat achieved because we can provide a faster turnover time for
right.
libraries that are sharing a courier hub and are open more often, that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
our
I
goal
did the,
wasn't to make it fair for the libraries as much as it was to make it faster for the patrons, I think.
that was the goal that I had when I set up the transportation cost matrix in Valnet. And I don't know if you're still using the same calculations I made, but I assigned each library a value based on, not only, we had a courier that would, if something was going from library A to library B, they would deliver things on the same day. Here, we're in a situation where everything that gets picked up has to go back to the hub. Our drivers don't deliver things on the route. They just put everything in their vehicle, take it to the hub, and then distribute it the next day. So there's, things don't move from library to library each day. Everything moves to the hub. And so there's just a lot of different issues here. But in Valnet, I had a number that was based on which, if it's on the same courier route and it's going to be delivered the same day, I got one value. And then I added numbers based on how many days a week they were open and how many. It was complicated, and there's all those frickin' squares to fill in when you got 48 by 48. So I actually used jQuery that just filled in all the squares. I used jQuery to write something that would help me fill in the squares. So.
The question I get asked is, why doesn't the holds to pull and the holds queue reports show the same things all the time? Because sometimes they're different. And we really use the holds to pull report, but in some version that broke and it wasn't really populating. So we ended up creating a custom holds to pull. And if you try and run those things, right after, just in succession, you'll get slightly different results amongst them. And I'm not really sure exactly why or how to answer their question.
I don't know about that problem anymore. I do remember the bug that broke the holds queue report because how did it work? If there was only one item available, it wouldn't appear, nothing would appear on the holds to pull report, on the holds queue report. And that was a bug that I remember encountering in I think it was like in 2015 that bug appeared. And it messed everything up. I mean, if there was only one copy of if the bibliographic record only had one item on it, it wouldn't appear on the holds in the holds queue. And if it had 50 copies of it and 49 of them were checked out, then it wouldn't appear on the holds queue. So there were all these people, and some books would have 20, 30 holds on them. And so I wrote a report to work around that. And a lot of people used it. And so maybe that's the report you're still using because I posted it on the jQuery library and I'm sure it's still there.
We've had the holds to pull report hidden since our inception, so I don't know.
Yeah.
We've never used it, so I don't know.
Same here.
The specific issue that you're talking
Yeah,
about.
because we're just a single site. I thought someone told me once that the holds to pull report, refreshed X amount of time, but the holds queue was different. And maybe that was what explained why you would have different results.
I think holds to pull is live.
Yeah, holds to pull.
Okay.
Just runs the script each time you load the page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes a new table for you.
And it shows you every item that can possibly fill a hold.
Which is
And
why
so,
we don't use it.
Yeah, and that's why we don't use it, is because if somebody looks at that, if somebody at the Wetmore library looks at that and says, oh, we've got a copy of this, I can check it in and fill that hold. And it's a hold for the Paola library and Paola has a copy of it, then Wetmore is just filling a hold. As soon as Wetmore checks that item in, it's going to trap that as the item that'll fill the hold. And it's going to take it 4 days to get to Paola when there's a copy sitting on the shelf at Paola.
Yeah.
And so that's why we don't want people to look at that to build their holds, because sure as hell, the library in Wetmore is going to do that. So, I got a copy of that. I don't mind sending it out. And then, the patron's going to wait for a week. Unless it gets lost by the courier, then it's never going to get filled. So
I'm poking around a little bit on some consortiums as you guys speak, and it looks like most of the bigger consortiums are hiding the holds to pull.
yeah, it's not useful in a consortium. If you're just a single library with no branches, then it's golden.
Also, just to clarify, it looks like the build holds queue will run at different times on different sites if you're Bywater partner, depending on how the cron is set up.
Oh, right. Yeah, we're set to every 15 minutes. So top of the hour, quarter after, half an hour after, 45 after. So we refresh more often than George does.
Yeah, we refresh once an hour. It used to be once every 2 hours in the morning and once an hour in the afternoon for various reasons. But once an hour seems to work because if you print it off at the beginning of the hour and you've got an hour to look for those things, then you should be good. But if everybody could print their list at 8 o'clock in the morning, we'd be perfect. But what happens is, what'll always happen is somebody prints theirs at 8 o'clock, and then they set it down and they let it sit there until 10:30. And then they go out to pull those things, and the person that ran it at 9 o'clock gets half of the things that are on that list and ships them off. And so the people are out there looking at this list that's 2 hours old, and they're not able to fill it. But that, you know, that's one of the big disadvantages of randomizing the holds queue. So I think for our size and for our situation, where we've got 3 different courier hubs, and some people get 3-day-a-week courier service, and some people get 5-day-a-week courier service, and some libraries are open 10 hours a week, and some libraries are open 70 hours a week. There's just no good solutions for what we're doing.
And I don't recall exactly for us, but we pumped up our holds queue refresh because of something completely unrelated. I think it had to do with, like, if you cancel a hold and then put the hold back on, like, so we want to fill the hold here, but we have to wait until the hold queue refreshes before we can trigger the hold, something like that.
Oh yeah.
So because the holds queues, that cron job's doing more than just rebuilding the holds queue, or it's like designating the pickup location or something. So if we don't, if it's not matching up, then when you try to trigger the hold, it doesn't trigger. So, but that's mostly been curbed by just refreshing it every 15 minutes. And I can tell people, hey, if the hold's not triggering, wait a few minutes until quarter of hour, and you can check it and it'll trigger then. So, which, going back to this bug, I mean, if the holds queue was acting lively, that would get rid of that problem, but it may cause other problems, as George indicated. So
Yeah.
it's a good one to be aware of, no matter.
Yeah, it's a good one to make sure there's options for it. Make sure it has options. And I found the holds queue workaround for bug 18001 is the one that I wrote when I was in Idaho. And then I remember being at the conference in Monterey, California, and somebody said, yeah, we're using this holds queue workaround thing, but the bug that it was related to is fixed a long time ago in 2017. So oh, that was a different bug fix. Yeah, there's been more than one bug fix in holds queue. Yeah, because that I wrote when I was here, so.
Trying to think of other cool things I've been working on. I don't know. I started looking, I talked about this as sysadmin too. I've started looking at the course reserves more, and using it like a display module like Ed was doing. And I think that it has a lot of good potential for what we need to use it for. One of the issues that we run into a lot is it on the new shelf or is it not on the new shelf? So if we create a new shelf display, then we can temporarily move its location to that new shelf, and there's no question where it should be. And it also has all that functionality built in, so the circ staff doesn't need to know how to catalog an item. They can just change the shelf location and then hit the remove button when it's time to take it off. So I think we're going to probably move forward with implementing that at some point in the near future. But I have to make all the jQuery adjustments to say it's display and not course reserve and all that. and hide fields that we don't want to use, that kind of thing.
So I would have loved to have used it for that, but right when Ed did that talk about how to do that, we added a community college that uses course reserves, so that we can't use it because we're actually using the course. We can't use the course reserves module as a display module because we're actually using course reserves as a course reserves module.
Yeah, there's a bug about that, bug out
But why not
there.
add a display module based
Yeah,
off of that? Yeah.
There's one for adding a display module. I think I found one that talked about like making it better for multi-branch systems too, because right now it doesn't seem like it's like open wide, like it's not branch limited at all. So you
Right.
could potentially, if branch functionality was included, you could brand it as course reserves for one library and then brand it as display for the rest. I think the way we're going to go with it, since it isn't branch limited, is just to set up the departments as libraries instead. So when they pick the department, they're gonna pick their library so that we can tell which display goes with which library, and then have to rebuild it in the future if it gets branch limitation.
Right. That's if we ever add another community, if we ever add anybody else that wants to use course reserves, I have the one library that's using it. Each department clearly says which library it goes with.
Yeah, we do have a community college too, but they've never shown interest. I didn't really sell it very well to them, but we just use like a shelf location for their course reserves and they're happy with that. So I'm not gonna try and backtrack there.
They missed their big chance. I guess along the lines of that, let's see, circulation. Also building a table. I guess I just did this a few weeks ago and I hadn't really thought about it. I've got another table going that's built by a report on my circulation page now that I think about it. So this table here is being built with data from a report also. And I've got this report set up so that the report does all the heavy lifting where all of this stuff here in my library setup. Let's go to Nichols. Oh, and Nichols is the one library that I don't have that information in. We can look at Atchison. So I've got the report set up so that it knows when it sees the word director in that line and the pipe. It knows that the report knows that when I put pipes in there to convert them into line breaks. So I've got the report all set up to do like when you said you didn't know if it would be easier to have the jQuery, add all of the highlighting and the line breaks and, build the table that way. I've got it so that the report, all the heavy lifting of the configuration of the data is done by the report rather than by the jQuery. But it's the same thing where I've got this header is built in the system preference. And then where that body is, I've just got the table is called library table. And where it sees the body, it inserts all of the fields. And I've got this one set so that this table, the refresh, the cache is set up so that it's only rebuilt every 12 hours. So it's not having to run that report more than a couple of times a day. That way I'm not dragging the system down with that.
Did
But I
you
don't
adapt
remember.
the address field 3 for the library director? Is that
Yeah,
what
I've got all of the,
I'm
yeah, I don't remember which, I've got
definitely,
jQuery that does all that.
I mean, harvesting this idea. I'm definitely thinking I want to harvest this idea. Because I have like a Google sheet that has all this information, but it would be nice to just pull it from the database.
Yeah, I renamed address 1 mailing address and address 2 street address, physical address. And then I guess number 3 might be, I don't know what the original name of that is, but I've renamed all of these to match what I actually use them for. And I even put the KLE code in. I think that's country is the Kansas Library Express code.
How will you know that they're in the USA though?
I'm just making an assumption. So I've got the KLE code up here and down here. So I'm doing those things, and I've got the report set up to do the things I want it to do. So, but the actual report, I don't think I remember the number of the report. You know, I was down to like 790 something reports, and I'm back up over 800. So I'm started working on a project today while I'm trying to continue to weed out some of the reports that we don't need anymore. Well, you know, it's going to be in the jQuery. It'll tell me. What's the name of that table? Library table. It's report 2946. So I'm getting the branch name, and then I'm building this table with the branch name. I got a lot of concats in here. So yeah, it looks like director is coming from branch address 3 is what I've renamed as director. But I've got more than just that in there because I've got the director and the ILL people, and then we've also got their library type stored in that field so that when people look at that final, when staff go to look at this, it's got their service center 2, service center 3, whatever type of library they are. So you know how to log into my system. You're welcome to go in there and poke around and steal whatever you want.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on implementing hours here?
Hours, that would be a lot harder because for one thing, I don't know what everybody's hours are, and they change so often. We don't have any hour information stored in Koha because it's impossible to keep that up to date. It's hard enough for me to get people to tell me when they've got a new director at their library. I think this is all fairly current. Well, I know it's not current because Donovan County has a new director, and I've asked them 3 times to update their, to talk with me, and we can update their information. They never get back to me, so I don't have any director listed for Donovan.
Yeah.
So
we do have a pretty good feel for their hours, and I was gonna add that to like the notes field anywhere. Hey, you can't have her anymore. more. I was gonna add that to the notes field so that it showed in the OPAC. So I mean, if it's there, then I could potentially build it into this too.
Yeah. Or, you know, there's that big, oh, I lost my tab that had the, if you're not doing
Yeah.
anything with that OPAC block.
Right. That's where I was thinking I'd put the hours so that it showed up in their
Yeah.
in their OPAC listing, because we did like put that up in the header bar where you can click the list of member libraries. But it doesn't really, it's just populating like address right now.
Right. Dan set up, this is a page, but if you go here, we've got it set up because this way all the information that's in the library thing, we've got everybody's, I added the logos to the OPAC information in our system so that when people look at the list of libraries, every library has their own logo in the, you know, and if they don't have a logo, well, Silver Lake does have a logo. I got a snapshot of the library in there so that this is what it looks like when you look up the library information on the OPAC. So
yeah, we talked about this at our last users group, and I was supposed to send out a survey of what they wanted on there, but I haven't done that yet. But we came up with things like hours, public facing email address, and social media links. A lot of them have Facebook that they use more than their website, so having that added into the public directory would be good.
yeah.
So that's something on my to-do list that I have been ignoring. I mean, deprioritizing.
Yeah, I was
But I
late
like-
to this meeting because I was sending you an email.
Yeah, I saw it. I got it. I'll respond to it after this meeting.
So what fun things are you doing, Barbara, that Christopher and I can ask you to be in a video to talk about?
Oh, no.
Because Lizette and Jason have done one. Lucas skipped out on one because he had to have like a root canal or something. But
I don't know. I feel like I'm busy all the time. And then when people say, what have you been working on? I'm like, I don't know.
yeah,
That feeling.
Lucas, do you know who from Bywater might be coming to the koha-US conference?
You know, at this point, I don't know at all. No.
I asked Todd, I had a meeting with Todd yesterday and I asked him if he was coming. And he says on the one hand, he'd like to, but Bywater has a lot of new employees. And he said he thinks Brendan is going to try to send as many new people as he can so that they have some contact. So people that have been to conferences before are probably less likely to show up at this one. But I know Jesse and Kelly are planning on being there and they're supposed to do a presentation. So,
yeah.
You know, I used to know every single person that worked at Bywater back when there were only like 10 of them. And now it's like half the time I get emails from people I've never heard of before. So. I don't know Tasha, who's in the room here with us, but you're welcome to, if you're doing anything cool, let me know and we can make a video of it.
Yeah, you could, it would be a video of me failing dramatically at various Koha implementation tasks. Thank you though.
That's what all our videos are. Christopher and I failing to really accomplish much. But we have a good time doing it, so.
We have about 3 minutes left until the top of the hour. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Lizette, you've been awfully quiet and busy over there.
Our website that we're working on building has been down
Oh,
for
okay.
most of this meeting that I've been trying to get Bluehost to turn it back on. And they're like, everything's fine on our end. And we're like, not on our end. Well, I just loaded up that page with no problems. Well, 3 of us here are having problems.
What's the address?
Well, it's
LaSalleLibrary.org?
no, it's
Oh, it's a test site.
a test site.
We'll put the link in the window and we'll see if we can try it. We can get you live confirmation that it doesn't work in Kansas at the very least. HamsterCountyLibrary.com.
I have access in Kansas, although some of the pictures aren't loading. I don't know if that's part of your problem.
Looks all good in Texas.
It's really slow here, but it's loading. I like the logos for each of the libraries. Although the Deary logo is, it's like Beauville, Deary, Genesee, Julietta. The Deary logo is really tiny. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'd say you've still got problems, but it does seem to be.
Yeah, but it loaded right up. It was just
loading.
really slow.
It doesn't load for me. I'm behind all kinds of fancy firewalls, but I do actually get a 520 page. It says unknown connection between Cloudflare and the origin.
Yeah, I let them know it was still really slow, and I have to hop onto a website meeting that I have now. So, okay.
Well, I have to go to lunch, so
Thanks, everyone.
sorry I was late. See you all next time.
Hi.
Thanks, everybody.